input the computer. So then that data was applied to the digital skeletons, was rendered in CG, and the traditional artists got their work on the digital world, which was fantastic.
So
What did they call that device again, she asks. It was the DID, the digital or dinosaur input device, which was cute. Thank you for that. So I love working with traditional modelers and engineers and artists, and I came at it kind of from both angles. And after I actually left ILM to go work for, has anyone heard of Douglas Trumbull? Very famous visual effects pioneer, worked on 2001: A Space Odyssey, Close Encounters, Sonic Running, Brainstorm was Natalie Wood's last film he did. But anyway, so he was the visionary behind designing the entertainment theme area of the Luxor Hotel. So we designed this whole ride film, special venue, and it was just amazing. I built and ran an image engineering department, which worked with the art department, the artists, and physically realized all of that beautifully designed stuff to be actually made with rapid prototyping for the model shop and work with the 3D CG people. And it was just, again, it was just amazing. So many different skills and people working together. There's our crew photo. And that's a 8-scale miniature set. Back when we used to build real sets and shoot them with motion control, and fill them with oily smoke to simulate depth of field. It's horrible. So this is going to be the arc. So we're going to go from traditional fantastic collaboration. We're now going to start arcing into what I call kind of the dark ages of digital cooperation, which was not so good. And then we'll come out of that at the back end. So I went back to ILM the second time to work on, anybody recognize this? Anybody?
Star Wars.
Close. Empire Strikes Back. Same thing, that's okay. So I was the lead TD, the technical director on the new special edition of Empire Strikes Back. Empire Strikes Back. Coffee, please. So anyway, flying the Millennium Falcon. And now the interesting thing about this is I basically, not to diminish any of my coworkers, but basically did this whole sequence myself, which was kind of unfortunate. Because, again, so now we're in a cooperation mode where you have the modelers who model and the surfacers who did the texturing and shading. But then basically they just hand those assets to you and walk away, right? So that's the kind of cooperation, handoff. As a TD, you have to tweak the shaders, write the missing pieces, do some code, tie it all together, animate the Falcon, put in the lighting. You get the idea. You know all this whole process. That whole process of building the scene, having it run, lighting it creatively, making it look great, listening to the director's feedback. It's all on the TD's shoulders, a single person. So this was literally between Christmas and New Year's, just myself and the producers standing over my shoulder. So while it was tremendously personally fulfilling, it wasn't collaboration of the sense that I was used to. But you get the difference? Oh yeah. So in your mind, you can imagine the Millennium Falcon flying over the Cloud City. It's a very beautiful shot. The funny story that I like to tell, not so much about collaboration, just because I like to tell the story, is I had to go to Skywalker Ranch past George's security and look up the dimensions of the Millennium Falcon, because visually, to me, it didn't look quite right. So this was just a funny little aside. It was just getting up to Skywalker Ranch, going to the archives, and everyone knows the end of Indiana Jones, the movie, right? With the big warehouse that's all filled as far as you can see with crates. Well, the archives is like that, but nothing's in crates. It's just on shelves, little R2-D2s of every possible scale, and X-Wing fighters, and old matte paintings. And so I had to find the original blueprints for the Falcon from 1975 when they built the full-scale model of Elstree Studios. Measure it and dimension it. I was right, the digital model was off. So I got to correct it. So let's see. I can move past this, that's all right. This is about Jar Jar. Nobody wants to hear about Jar Jar. I was a sequence supervisor on Phantom Menace. And here he is. But the interesting story, actually I will talk about this briefly. The last little hint of collaboration that I got, which was fantastic, working on Phantom Menace, was this sequence that I was just at, which was, it's called the Stampede sequence. Basically, it's introducing Jar Jar to the world. I'm sorry. But basically, we shot live action plates. It's a horrible picture, I apologize. But basically, it's a swampy forest. All the big bad machines are coming towards the camera. And Jar Jar and Qui-Gon, the other guy, the Jedi, running towards camera. And all these animals are scattered. They're stampeding. It's a stampede sequence. So all these guys are digital. It's a live action plate. They're running through. Of course, there's no interaction with the ground. We needed splashes through the swamp. So the fun collaboration about this sequence was Dennis Muren, who some of you may have heard of. He's a multiple Academy Award winner. He's got 8 to his name now. Not bad for one guy. 8 Academy Awards. Visual effects. While the cooperating digital artists in the other room were pounding away at their scripts, writing their programs to try to come up with a particle system to do this stuff. We grabbed a camcorder, just a little digital camcorder, went to the shooting stage and got a little wading pool and put in some black plastic and a step ladder and shot down and literally got in the water and stomped our feet and made splashes and shot that, digitized the footage, did a little luma key, and we had thousands of beautifully realistic water splashes to then pump into that shot in like an hour. So it's collaborating very, very old school on these digital films. This is just a shot. Guess what movie we're still working on here? That's not right. So, pretty much the whole industry by then, which was 1998, was cooperating, and I was getting bored. Frankly, because this cooperating mode wasn't what interested me. It's not what interested me. So I left ILM for the second time and went to work on this new fangled thing Microsoft was thinking about doing, which was an Xbox. This is the original one, so I left for 2000, about 2000. Did a launch title called Bruce Lee, which was fascinating, and I was back in my element. So another collaborating story. Basically, we hired Bruce Lee's original students, who were now in their they were in their 60s, 60-year-old folks. Bruce Lee's original students and their students. So we had second and third generation Jeet Kune Do experts. We built a whole motion capture studio from scratch. It's still pretty early technology, relatively speaking, in about 2000 or so. Head scans, all working together. This was great. So this really got my jazz up for working in video games. I was very, very encouraged. Which kind of is going to start bringing us towards creative industries. Because I love being a producer. Because now I've worked my way up from being an artist and a technology person to being a producer and putting together these big, giant projects. And the convergence of all this together. So this is when creative industry started forming in my mind, and how it completely encompassed the collaboration potential of all these different areas of government and software engineering and creative artistic stuff. It was really amazing. So collaboration, so much better than cooperation. And in a traditional sense, we've got academic departments, traditional academic departments, which actually would help me. Hands up if you are an academic. Is everyone? Half? About half? Yeah? Everyone else artists? No?
Both.
Both. Oh, both, of course. We're all many things. Yes, both hands. But basically, creative industries in the middle, so taking traditional departments, working them all together into, if production areas are your thing, that's where we're leading. And at Northeastern University, this is basically the breakdown. We're integrating a lot of traditional departments in new and exciting ways with projects, interdisciplinary collaboration. This is roughly the breakdown. We've got about half of them in computer science. That big blue piece, which is other, is really exciting to me because we're bringing on all kinds of new folks. Those are the journalism, physics, the theater department, cinema studies is fantastic. It's really exciting bringing all these people together. And I think we have a panel, is it 5 today, about creative industries?
Yeah.
Yes. have to look at Austin? You don't have this memorized?
No.
So, come back at 5 o'clock to talk about creative industries. A metaphor that I came up with, it's a metaphor, right? Not a euphemism? Right. She's always correcting me about that. A metaphor for creative industries, I thought, was notes to music. So, we all as individual people, artists, are like individual notes. Right? An individual note does not make music. But if we all get together, all of our individual people, our individual notes, then we can make a wonderful symphony. Isn't that prophetic? Isn't that wonderful? So that's the creative industries. The benefit, individual notes are like individual academic departments or individual people, fantastic on their own, but when we put them together, it makes things so much better. So that's the background portion of the talk. This is where I came from and why I'm thinking what I'm thinking. And this is basically what I teach my students about how and why we should go forward from here. Revolution, excellence, and agility. And don't forget the secret at the end. Secret box. So, firstly, revolution. So, in order to be truly innovative, and that's something our provost is really focused on, innovation, being first, not second, being very dramatically first. We have to be revolutionary. We have to be revolutionary, we have to act revolutionary, not just think it. And I think that creative industries is that weapon of choice, so to speak. And this is kind of the distinction, especially in game design. I don't know if a lot of you probably do, work with interactive technologies. The two main components are the artistic side and the software engineering side. You do some programming and engineering to facilitate the art and get your interactive thing going. But that's true. But the creative industries is so much more in addition to that, with all those other fields that I mentioned before: creative writing, story development, acting, bringing them all together in a revolutionary way. So, oh, here we go. I actually have a slide. Ta-da. I usually try to make a point not to read my slides. So, speaking of revolutions, in game design, interactive media itself, I like to brag about our local Boston area of Massachusetts, because video game development literally started in the 1960s. 1962. What do you do with a multi-million-dollar piece of hardware from the Defense Department at MIT? How do you spend that grant money? You make a video game. So this is literally what they did. Space Wars, the very first use of this technology, and it was made in a video game. And then it just got multiplied from there. Basically, all the major founding video game interactive media companies that then spawned the whole world and left the Boston area and created all of the wonderful stuff we have today. Started in Turbine's most recent one, but these old ones were really, really, really great. Boston, Cambridge, Watertown, these are all greater Boston area. So the revolution really started in Boston. And I'm kind of proud of that. So, oh yeah, another example. So about revolutionary, being innovative, being first. Can anyone name the second person who stepped on the moon? Ah, see, I proved my point.
Buzz Aldrin.
Yes, there's always one smart guy in the